All right, so I don't know what planet Joe Biden is on, but this is a very odd take, and there's actually quite a bit to say about it. Joe Biden tweets to Trump that, quote, President Obama and I left Donald Trump a booming economy, and he caused a recession. He squandered it just like everything else he's inherited in his life. Now, this is weird, and it's weird in a weird way. You got that? Because going back to when Trump was campaigning for the 2016 presidential election, he correctly called out Obama and Biden for their highly disingenuous talking points as far as the economy was concerned. He actually called out the fact that the stock market, for example, was one gigantic bubble pumped up by the Fed, that it wouldn't be anywhere near it would be without this artificial prop the Fed was giving it. Donald Trump also pointed out how disingenuous Obama and Biden were on unemployment. If you remember, Obama and Biden constantly talked about how low the unemployment rate is. I mean, look, it just hit 6%, now it hit 5%, we're doing so great. Well, of course this was nonsense because to my recollection, they never talked about the labor participation rate, which was horrible at that time. This, in case anyone doesn't know, basically means that after a 12-month period, if you haven't found a job, you become what's known as a discouraged worker, and you're no longer counted in the unemployment rate. So voila, people like Obama, Biden, and even Trump did this a lot once he became president. They get to point to that lower unemployment rate and pat themselves on the back and tell everyone what a great job they're doing. Meanwhile, the only reason why that number looks to be getting better is because all the people who are worse off, they just remove them from the equation. It's unbelievably disingenuous. And in libertarian circles, I think this is widely known, but the population at large doesn't really know about this. So it's unfortunate. No, and Biden and Obama surely didn't want you thinking about that, which is why I gave credit to Trump when he called them out on it. He pointed out pretty consistently that there was a huge segment of the population that was comprised of these discouraged workers, and they were therefore essentially cooking the books and not giving you a realistic picture in any sense. So when Joe Biden says he handed Trump a booming economy, it is a complete and abject lie, and he knows it. And Trump called them out on it all the time. And that was great that he did so, although, as I mentioned before, once he got into office, when it came to the stock market or the unemployment rate, Trump pretended like everything he had said during his campaign was never said, and he conveniently forgot about all that stuff, just so he could then take credit for this fake recovery, which could seriously backfire, by the way, and I've mentioned this in the past quite a bit as well. This could backfire for those who advocate for a free market, because when the government-created House of Cards falls, because it is Trump in office, people will ignorantly say, well, look, Trump was in office, so we had a free market system, and that's what failed us. And then we'll just dig ourselves further into the government hole that's been dug for us. So that's not going to be a good look when it happens. And it's all because people don't know what they're talking about half the time. And just because the guy on the red team is in office, they seem to think that just must mean that we have this free market capitalist system, which we have anything but. But that's a bit besides the point. The other thing Biden said here, which again just boggles the mind, is that Trump caused a recession. Now, as I've done in the past, and as I've already done in this video here and now, I will criticize Trump when it's legit, but my God, there were decades of regulation, government interference, and Fed manipulation that was inevitably going to cause a recession, or even worse, a depression. And Trump certainly didn't do nearly enough to combat this, but to just say that Trump caused a recession and leave it at that is so off base. Hell, forget the decades of regulation and government interference in the Fed. Forgetting those, how about the governors? Very often Democratic governors shuttering their states, closing them for business, instituting stay-at-home orders, disallowing people from being patrons at a shop, or limiting the number of clientele a business can have, which destroyed innumerable restaurants, by the way. You cannot, in good faith, lay that at the feet of Trump. In order to be even marginally coherent, you have to point your finger at, I don't know, the governors who went insane and did this. And now you want to say, well, Trump didn't take COVID seriously, so that's why we had to do that. Okay, well then you have to point your finger at Dr. Fauci then too, saying masks were pointless. Point your finger at Nancy Pelosi walking around Chinatown without a mask, encouraging people to come out and don't be afraid. Point your finger at all the doctors that said BLM rallies could help ease the pain caused by COVID. Point your finger at all the rallies themselves for chucking social distancing into the waste bin. To just say it's Trump's fault is nothing short of ridiculous. And that is all this tweet is. And that's all Joe Biden is. Just ridiculous. But that's all for now. Like and subscribe, and take it easy.